This is an open letter to Mrs. Marjorie Taylor Greene. Hello, ma'am. How are you? Hope everything is fine. Happy New Year. Here's the thing, ma'am. With regards to Gulf of Mexico, and you know, first of all, bravo that you're representative, and bravo that you have the cojones to go in and try to fix things as you see fit. You know, the whole audacity of hope kind of way. So, so, bravo. But here's with regards to a few ideas like Gulf of America, and let's make Canada America, and let's make Greenland America, and let's make Mexico America. Okay, let's assume you have done it. Let's look forward. Move the thing forward and see what happens after you do it. For one thing, with regards to, for example, Gulf of Mexico, what do you think? Mexico should be consulted whether they want to give up the name. United Nations, does the United Nations roll it forward and see after you do it what happens? Do you think Mexicans, your neighbors, are going to have a very fond feelings about? You think your neighbors are going to have a very fond feelings about the idea that all by yourself you went around and put your name on it, where historically it has been their name, because historically a lot of the land, even north of the Gulf, belong to Mexico. Therefore, most of the Gulf, even now, Mexico has more, surface contact with the Gulf than the United States has. They have, like, I believe, 2,500 miles of coastline, and the United States has 1,800 miles of coastline. I guess, even though you own the better coastline in terms of weather and productivity of land, still they own the majority. Even now, before this, they own even more, because they settled faster, they went north sooner, and it was the Spanish claim territory of Mexico. So my point is this, that still they own more mileage. I'm trying to say is you're not going to buy yourself any new friends by doing things unilateral. No better friendship or better relations is going to come by. And if you don't want to have good relations with your neighbors, who you want to have good relations with? The guy on the other side of the world. You need to have good relations with your neighbors, or else you can't live there. You see, it's common sense when you bring it down to the level of your own neighborhood. You have to have good relationship with your neighbors, or else, your life is not going to be, safe or easy. This is why the idea of Israel is so, ridiculous. If you keep killing your neighbors, how do you think, they kill you back, or you kill them back? Anyway, they're the natives, you're the Europeans, and the idea of killing the natives is going to buy you more friends and more stability and more security. Is just ridiculous. It's not doable. You can't attack people, humiliate people, try to humiliate people by taking their name off the Gulf and putting your name in front of it. That's an act of humiliating your own neighbors. Why? Because you feel insecure? Sorry, man. Salute. It's the wine talking. here's the thing. I mean, nothing good comes out of humiliating your neighbor. Just bring it to your area of your own suburb that you are living in Georgia. Does anything good comes out of humiliating your neighbor? Does anything good come out of it? Or, being bad to your neighbors. Does anything good comes out of it? Never, ever. It just increases the temperature, increases the stress, and sometimes the stress, cause the seam to come off. The seam to come off because of stress. That's what happens. I mean, you wear leather. I guess you can tell that too much stress causes the seams to come off. Leather starts ripping apart. My point is this, that you don't want stress. You want to bring down the stress. Bringing down the stress is one way is keeping status quo. Let's stay where we are. A war can stop if both sides agree that it should stop at right here. Wherever it is right now, it should stop right now. Then, stay as it is. Nobody claim anything more right now. Every war can be stopped right away. So and every war can start when people start moving around. When you find, blue-eyed soldiers in the southern hemisphere or leading a group of brown or black in southern hemisphere, you see something has gone wrong. A blue-eyed guy is in the southern hemisphere where they're all either black eyes or brown eyes. None of them are blue eyes, a few as an anomaly. But you see a large number of, white people with blue eyes and blonde hair in southern hemisphere ordering things around. That's what colonialism was all about. You see where I'm going with this? So the whole idea is that nothing good comes out of humiliating your neighbors. Nothing good comes out of degrading your neighbors. Mr. Trudeau came down to see if he can work things out, and apparently he was told that he has to literally bend over. So he said no thank you. He went back to Canada and said, I quit. I'm not gonna bend over. So Trudeau quit because he wasn't willing to bend over. I'm not sure the other motherfucker is willing to bend over either. So why muddy the water? Why pick a fight that's not going to... It's going to create more stress at the seams? Who's winning in this matter? When you create more stress, who's winning? You don't have to feel insecure if for 1 second. My sister was like this. She was a bully, so she felt insecure if we didn't take her orders. It's like she would become combative if you don't take her orders. She would suddenly become combative. It's like if that's called being a bully. So if you don't bully it too much, you're not going to have any kind of a pushback from the rest of the planet, because you're the guys who are trying to tell the Koreans how they should live. You're keeping protecting one Korean from another Korean. It's like somebody going inside a marriage and trying to protect one side of marriage from the other side of the marriage. Husband from the wife or wife from the husband. Sort of like, no, I am going to come in your bedroom and sleep between you to protect one from the other. This marriage is going to have to work out one way or the other. What is it to you? Why are you in bed with one side of the Koreans? Why are you in bed between the Koreans? So, if you can stop all that, if you just say, no, I'm not no longer going to be in bed with any of you, you choose a leader and move on. And no, I'm not going to provide any weapons to one side of this bedroom to be prepared to fight against the other side of the bedroom. It's a husband and wife situation in Korea. And, Uncle Sam is arming one side of the Koreans and telling them that they should stand strong for freedom, democracy. They're Koreans. They like rules and corners, and haven't you noticed? They like, hive mentality. Rules and corners and strictness. And read into Chaebols, Mrs. Greene, and you figure out that the mentality of Koreans in South Korea, they have created these Chaebols, which are sort of like a Kim Jong-un kind of a corporation, that there are many Kim Jong-uns and Kim Son-uns on top of these Chaebols that are ruling the Chaebols. There are so many people underneath them working, like literally the same way North Korea is ruling their peasants. Same way. It's just on this side they're supposedly free, and the other side they're not. People behave as their customs and culture dictates them to behave. It's not really, you can't, change behavior that much with a gun. You can kill it certainly, but that's why many churches are underground and many worship centers are underground, and very, very people do their own thing quietly underground, because you can't really stamp it out. You can't you can't try to kill an idea with a gun. This idea. Sorry. My point is this, Mrs. Greene. Move the thing forward and see, what do the Greenlanders have to look forward to? Except the few that are homeless, that are hoping to not be homeless in Greenland, but be homeless in Florida. And those others who are not homeless, what are they supposed to look forward to? Right now, I'm sure they have a very, understanding system, which probably everybody has some kind of health insurance. They have a good number of doctor to patient ratio, and probably okay number. It's somehow probably Netherlands is helping them, or whoever owns them, Belgium, Denmark, whoever. They probably have some kind of a good health coverage for middle class. There's some Greenland doctors who are staying there with their families so they don't move. How many doctors do you know, Mrs. Greene, who are willing to leave Georgia and go practice in Greenland? And if you take away that free health care that Greenlanders have, then, I'm sorry, what is keeping them in Greenland? So you're basically saying that, okay, you can all join our homeless in the mainland, and because we want to put some military bases in Greenland and start extracting resources off Greenland. So you're not going to be doing anybody any favors. How the Greenlanders are going to benefit from this? Except that, to accept a lower standard of living, lower quality of life, probably a half-ass healthcare. Right now probably they have okay healthcare, because probably the Danish government or whoever European government is ruling them probably puts up some good incentives for doctors to move to, for some European doctors to move into Greenland because of some incentives or other. But my point is this: What is it that in other words, I'm trying to say is, show me a good quality of life for your own citizens, then tell me that I want to expand and bring more of the world under my system because it's working so well. You see what I'm saying? It's not. If it's not working so well, why would you need to why would you want to take on more responsibility? I guess what I'm trying to say is, you should only want to try to take on more responsibilities if you're executing your own responsibilities correctly right now. Who gets promoted or who was given more benefits when they can't function under their own within the responsibilities that they already have. In a way, you have to shine with regards to your responsibilities right now to be given more responsibilities. You know, Gulf of America, Gulf of Mexico. Tell me, what is that the difference for average Joe who lacks health insurance, hasn't seen a doctor for a long time, is homeless, and the guy who's going to end up being homeless because the education system has failed him, because the education system is not funded as well as the military that is going to, you know, conquer Greenland. Salute. My point is this, ma'am, Mrs. Greene. Please execute your responsibilities towards your fellow citizens on your own land very well. Execute them so well that, believe me, if you execute your responsibilities toward your own citizens very well, people will want to join, will willingly send you letters and say, please add us as the 51st state. Please add us. But they have to see that you have provided a heaven. How many people do you know who don't want to go to heaven? But, you know, using military force is like, that's because you're trying to, you know, they have to use military force to send me to hell. You see what I'm saying? I go to heaven willingly. You see where I'm going with this? In order to add states to your states, you have literally put military military forces all around the world in order to add territory to the empire. You call it, oh no, we are not adding to the empire, we are policing. Well, you have to ask the natives whether whether they feel you're policing them or you have added them. If you add the Iraqis, they will tell you that, you know, no, we have been added because we have more Mars candy bars in our gas stations than we have any local chocolate. That means we have been added to the Mars empire, chocolate empire, which is, you know, starts from Pennsylvania. My point is this, that if you do well to all your own citizens, other citizens want to join you and become 51st state, 52nd state, willingly. I'm sure you have read the story of the Swedish people who basically said, yeah, we like this French general, why don't you come and become our king? The Swedish people, you would think that the Swedish people think that, you know, a Swedish king should be of Sweden. No, they just, you know, they thought some French general has a lot of brain power. They said, hey, why don't you come over and become king of Sweden? Something like that. It's in their history. So that's the idea of, they will say that, hey, America, you be the leader. They want you to be the leader, but if you stop bullying everybody and start treating your own citizens very well, everybody will sign the paper and try to join the union. You don't have to force anybody, but as it is, first you put soldiers in Afghanistan, try to add Afghanistan, of all places, Afghanistan. Why would you want to add a shithole by force? It's sort of, Afghanistan is like, you know, trying to forcefully pay billions of dollars for a Toyota Corolla. Trying to pay millions of dollars, billions of dollars for a Toyota Corolla. Afghanistan is the, you know, Ford Focus of the world. Why would you? You're mistreating your own citizens in terms of healthcare, education, and housing. But then you go and pay billions of dollars for a Ford Focus? I don't understand. For those who don't know, Ford Focus is one of the cheapest models of cars that Ford produces. It's not, let's say it's not a high quality because it's cheap price. So my point is this, no offense to Ford, I just said Toyota Corolla as well is another cheap product that Toyota produces. So, we divide the blame equally, but it's not really a blame, it's a feature, because it's a feature of a cheap product is being made with cheap materials. My point is this, that I got sidetracked worried about my reputation with Ford. I was a Ford salesman for some time, a few years. So my point is this, that why would you spend billions of dollars to acquire a shitty Model T car, Ford Model T car in the Middle East? It's sort of like, this is an ancient, if you can call it civilization, it's an ancient civilization doing their thing in their ancient ways. What is it to you? You're spending all this money trying to acquire this land that is so ancient that people still do crazy ancient shit. Here's the spirit of explorers. My point is this, man, that's a folly. Trying to name things after yourself is going to be a folly, because nobody in the world, in the United Nations. Here's the thing, Mrs. Greene, if you have to look at Earth as one body, especially since the invention of the internet, which you can't cut yourself off of it either, because it's got so many branches. Have you noticed that you say, okay, TikTok closed, we go to red note closed, we go to white note closed, we go to black note? You do understand that, unless you cut off the whole internet. And why would you want to cut off the whole internet has become like a nervous system of the body. If the nervous system is telling you that there is some pain in Gaza, there is some pain in Ukraine, if the nervous system is telling you that, you don't say, no, I'm going to cut off the nervous system that is giving me this bad message. Is the message real or fake? No, this cannot be Hollywood, because it's in so many phones, from so many angles, the information is coming out that this cannot be Hollywood. So it's real. A lot of people are getting hurt. It's like your nervous system telling you that your foot is being cut. Would you want to know? I think you would want to know that your foot is being cut. Mrs. Pelosi, apparently decided, I recently saw her video stating that TikTok must go. It's sort of like she's seeing her foot is on fire. She has decided her foot is in Gaza and in Ukraine. Her foot is on fire. Her foot, as in like pieces of the empire, the whole planet Earth, the whole planet. The nervous system is telling Mrs. Pelosi that your foot is on fire, a piece of this planet is burning, and you say, no, 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 I don't want my nervous system to tell me that my foot is on fire. I rather cut the nervous system so my people don't see that my foot is on fire. To the Sane Society. My point is this, ma'am. My point is this. A little self-reflection should be in order. You know, do something for your own citizens, provide them such quality of life that other people from Greenland and Canada and Mexico want to join. By changing a name, by changing the name of Gulf of Mexico to Gulf of America, you think that would convince the Mexicans to want to become the 51st state or 52nd state? Not saying that that is possible. Let's imagine that that is possible. Do you think that hurts them a little that they wouldn't want to become the 52nd state because they see their name is being totally washed away, literally? You know, even if they want to get in your bed, if they want to marry you, imagine Mexico wanting to marry you. Imagine coming on the day of the marriage, coming to your house and saying that you have named the house after yourself. This is not the house of the family of this. This is the house of John. This is not about this is not the Smith family house. This is John's house. John and company. So this is what they're feeling. It's sort of like, even if there was a possibility for Mexico to become part of the United States, they want to still, you know, have some kind of a name, maybe United States and Mexico or of Mexico. They don't want their identity to be totally washed away, as you're trying to do in Gulf of Mexico. This is a nutty idea. I'm not saying it's going to be successful, but how do you determine that? You go to a United Nation kind of body, you want to call it whatever you want to call it. You have to go to a body to see if everybody living on the same planet agree with you or not. I mean, recently, with all the vetoes that President Biden has issued in United Nations, all these vetoes is basically a middle finger. Veto is a middle finger by one person against everybody else. By all these vetoes that has been issued, Mrs. Greene, it's sort of like, you know, Uncle Sam's managers are flipping off everybody. Everybody on planet Earth, as if United States is a planet of its own. Folks, you live on planet Earth. You live on the same planet. You can't avoid each other, especially because of the nervous system that has made the planet somewhat to function as a body. The planet is functioning as a body. The people from Finland and Estonia, one of these three states, they're up in arms because one Russian tanker cut off one of these undersea cables. The nervous system. This nervous system was literally cut off between Finland and, I guess, Estonia, I want to say. But one of these three sisters from east of Russia, one of these cables were cut and everybody's in uproar. Exactly the result you will want to get if you cut somebody's nervous system in their hand. You cut your nervous system and, you start screaming. That's exactly what happened. The Finnish people and the Estonian people started screaming because it was a undersea cable. I think that was they wanted to send a warning. I think that was a warning shot from the Russians to these people that, hey, we have to function cooperatively on the same. We're living on the same planet. You see, with just one ship and one anchor, I was able to rip your cable, your nervous system. Just a warning that, hey, we have to live on this fucking planet together. And we cannot go to war on this planet. Going to war on this planet, ma'am, it's like one person trying to beat itself up. Imagine you have one body, planet, one nervous system. Everybody knows about everybody else. The information gets out. Doesn't matter if you ban the TikTok, information will travel with other means, by other means, unless you really cut the cables. And who benefits from cutting the cables? You don't benefit, because the rest of the humanity is not going to cut their cables. You see what I'm saying? At this point, cutting your cables, your internet cables, your information cables from the rest of humanity is a silly thing to do. Because the rest of the body can feel the pain. If you cut yourself off, imagine you're the hand and you're cutting yourself off from the body. The rest of the body is going to feel the pain. So will you. It's not like neither the hand fares well after being cut, nor the rest of the body. You see where I'm going with this? That means you cannot sever yourself as a Western bloc, or as United States, or as a Western. You cannot sever yourself from the rest of the body, because it's a silly idea. It's like a head thinking that it can do it all by itself, so cuts itself off from the rest. Imagine United States being the head. The most important part of the body. But can the most important part of the body function by itself? No, it needs the rest of the body. The most important part of the body, the head, let's say the United States, which is not. It's with George W. Bush and other Bush and Clinton. These are not, the brightest, the brightest bulb would be the one who keeps his penis in his pants. I don't care how many things Clinton could recite from memory, but if you can't keep your penis in your pants, you're not the brightest bulb in the drawer. So my point is this, because you give everybody, you keep accumulating liability after liability after liability. That's not a way to be successful. But then what if the system benefits from these liabilities and they promote somebody with a lot of liabilities? That's a different story. So my point is this. Ma'am, even if you consider United States as the head honcho, you cannot do well by severing yourself from the rest of the body, because the rest of the body is going to stay together. Unless, you're going to pulverize the whole planet and go to nuclear war and finish it off completely, i.e. kill the body by evaporation, then nobody's going to feel anything and nobody's going to suffer, and you just kill, bullet to the brain, finish the whole life system. If this is your plan, please go ahead. But by severing one part of the body from the body, nobody benefits. Iraq, from the day one that sanctions started against Iraq, I guess in 1985, 82, they just finished the war with Iran, and you know, sanctions started because, okay, you are no longer doing our bidding, and that is fighting the Iranians. And so now now the weapons that we sold you, now they're problematic. We expected you, was the whole behind the scenes perspective towards Iraq. As long as you're fighting the Iranians, which is what we want, we provide you with weapons. Once you stop fighting the Iranians, now you're a suspicious character for having those weapons. And if you want to have access as a big population of people from a very old civilization, if you want access to a warm water body such as the Persian Gulf, which is Kuwait is sitting in between Iraq and the Persian Gulf, so Iraq really doesn't have a Persian Gulf port, so Iraq really needs to have Kuwait. If you do such a logical thing of taking over Kuwait because you need full access to at least one warm body of water, then Uncle Sam's managers come in and say, no, this is independent. This shit show in Kuwait is independent. We want it to be independent because we determine who gets to be independent and who gets not to be independent. This is what you have done. The first Gulf War was a mistake. The second Gulf War was a mistake. The third Gulf War is going to be a mistake. This is mistake over mistake over mistake because you're externalizing your problems. If our people if we don't want to pay for our people's health care and housing and education, we just take them to go to war and eliminate them. This is the British mentality towards their population. Why have you adapted the British mentality towards their population? It's the worst kind of mentality. The British mentality is we, the lords who own this bitch, that Shetland Island, we don't want to pay for education, housing, and welfare of our citizens. Therefore, we're going to start a war and take these motherfuckers to war and eliminate them because we don't want to pay for their peasant asses. That's the idea that your system has adopted from the British. Uncle Sam's managers have seen this idea and said, yeah, good idea. This is the problem, ma'am. You have to take this idea out of your mind. You have to value your citizens, value enough to provide them with good housing, good healthcare, and good education. And surprise, surprise, if you do that, after you do that, there are a lot of other nations who want to be part of Uncle Sam's business. You're going to be in a point that you couldn't keep them out of United States. Right now, you have threatened from Afghanistan to Canada. You have threatened all of them, and you have applied pressure in order to take over all of them. This is forceful. It's a forceful endeavor. Because you don't have the record to show that you have done right by your own citizens. And anybody else in this world would be crazy to say, it's like, imagine this, ma'am. You go and see a very dysfunctional family, and then somebody, imagine a homeless guy or an orphan. Imagine an orphan standing outside a very dysfunctional family for 24 hours and see their interaction with each other and how well the parents are treating their children, imagine that orphan seeing that, how badly the children are treated, and then imagine you telling the kid that no, you have to join this family. This is the people of Greenland, the people of Canada, the people of Mexico, being told that you have to join this family in the United States. Is there anything to look forward to? Yeah, the very poor can look forward to being homeless in Florida than in Greenland, and the very rich in Greenland also can look forward to having a second passport or a more powerful passport so they can go more places. So the very, very poor and the very, very rich benefit from this endeavor. But the 90% in the middle are not going to benefit, because the middle class in Greenland and Canada is doing much better than the middle class, the 90%, in Uncle Sam's land. Why? Because apparently there is money for arms and war, but there's no money for healthcare, housing, and education. The same thing it is in England. Traditionally, it has been in England. The British have always had more money for war. War overseas, offensive wars. I mean, British were fighting the natives from Algeria to Alabama. How vicious you gotta be to basically say, imagine a British lord telling himself that either these peasants in this British island will accept to be peasants and shit-eaters all their life in here. I'm talking about the Dickens era, or forget about Dickens era, World War I, World War II. Every time the British have been fighting aggressively, offensively in somebody else's land. What do you call that? I call that the British want to get rid of their own citizens. Their own peasants. They're not citizens there. They're subjects to a king. They want to get rid of their subjects because they have too many of them in that island, and most of the island is privately owned by few rich people. Few hundred, few thousand rich people. Not even the 1%. So they keep getting into these offensive wars around the world. Right now, a few days ago, I saw Boris Johnson doing an impression of joining the military to go fight for England in Ukraine. Let your blood fertilize Ukrainian soil. It's better than your ass sitting here in Nottingham doing nothing and taking space in our island. So let's get you killed. The sooner the better. That's basically the gist of British foreign diplomacy. We need to kill some of our citizens, so we're going to attack you. Somewhere, somehow, we're going to find a target and send our citizens to die because we don't have space for them in our little island. This shouldn't be your perspective, ma'am. Your perspective, your first and only objective should be taking care of your own citizens, period. Even if that means putting in universal basic income for everybody. Basically say, okay, AI has taken over automation, mechanization, automation, and now AI has taken over. People need something to shop with, so we're going to send them some universal basic income so they can eat. Now, whether they can find a job or not, we'll still send them the basic funds necessary for them to eat and not be homeless. then if they find a job, that would be their added to that. And we don't care if they get a job. We are still going to send them the universal basic income, so they wouldn't feel obligated to continue with a job if they're being asked to do unethical things. If you do that, I'm sure your car dealership would have much more ethical salesmen. A salesman who gets their basic necessities or universal basic income delivered by the government, and what he makes in a car dealership is the cream, but the basic is provided by the government as universal basic income. That salesman is going to be a much moral person, because even the owner of the car dealership knows that the salesman has an option of quitting that day because their basic needs are met by the state. Therefore, you have a much more stress-free, lower stress society. Your people will not be worked so hard. The wages will go up. When universal basic income is in, the wages will automatically rise, because unless you pay me well, I'm not that desperate. By bringing down people's desperation, you push the wages higher. You force the system. You don't have to raise the minimum wage if you just eliminate people's desperation by providing universal basic income. That's one of the ways you can alleviate the pain for your own people, so other people can see you're taking care of your people, so someday those other people might actually want to willingly join your union. But you first have to take care of your people. Education, free for all. Housing, for those who can't even afford the minimum, free for all. Healthcare. We are not going to import our problems away by importing doctors from countries which can ill afford losing any more doctors. So we're going to produce more doctors. We're going to stop funding Boeing and Northrop Grumman and Raytheon. We're going to stop funding them, and we're going to start funding more universities, more education centers, better quality of teachers by increasing the pay. Teachers didn't used to sleep with students because they had a brain that told them it's a bad idea. But now they do, because you got to be very desperate to put up with such a difficult job and such a low salary. You got to be very desperate. And usually people without options are desperate, unless they're in love with the job. But you don't find many of those. If the salary is low enough, you gotta, even if you love the job, if the salary is low enough, even if you love the job, you wouldn't want to do it. Pay $100 a day and see how many cotton pickers you will find. Pay at $300 a day, you will find many cotton pickers. This is what I'm saying, that by providing universal basic income, then I guess you have to pay somebody to $300 a day to pick cotton. So you develop more robots, and robots will do the job, and more humans will have more free time to enjoy life with their universal basic income, because the robots are doing the job. Again, but to do that, you have to charge Bezos a lot of money, because he has streamlined a lot of businesses. He has taken out a lot of businesses The businesses who had used to hire people, now they're out of business. There's no business because Amazon has taken all the business. So therefore, whatever added productivity Amazon comes up with, you have to take it away by tax in order to pay for the universal basic income. If you don't take away that by tax, I'm talking about 90% tax, 98% tax. I'm sorry, this is nothing personal against Mr. Bezos, Mr. Musk, Mr. Uh, Bill Gates. There's nothing personal against them. It's just that you're accumulating too much added productivity that can go towards teachers, very good teachers, who are so smart that they don't sleep with their students. Who can really teach these people necessary matters of life. Good education, housing, healthcare. You have provided none of that for your citizens properly for all. But then you want to take in more responsibility, and you're wondering why nobody wants to join our union willingly. We have to go force them to join our union. We had to go fucking force the Afghans. Even the Afghans didn't want to join our union. Imagine how bad you have to be treating people in your union that even the Afghans don't want to join. You know who at the end went after the Afghans? The Soviet Union. They were running their business so bad that even the Afghans didn't want to join. Salute. At that time, Soviet Union was running the shit so bad that even the Afghans didn't want to join. Guess what? 50 years later, 40 years later, 30 years later, you started running things so bad that even the Afghans didn't want to join the union. And you had to go in and try to bring them into the union by force. You don't want to join the union? We're going to come in and rape you. That was your message. When you go with military force, you enter another country, when you find blue-eyed soldiers in brown and black land, that means, they didn't want to join you in some kind of endeavor, and you had to go force them into joining you in some kind of endeavor. The rest of it is bullshit with regards to freedom and democracy and civility and capitalism. The rest of it is nonsense. The reason the North Koreans have to ration goods, i.e. be communist, is because you have cut them away from the world. You say you're telling the North Koreans, either you allow us, the pink skins, the blue eyes, the blondes, either you allow us to take over all of the Korean peninsula, or we are going to stand here on the dividing line until you allow us to conquer the whole of Korean peninsula. You do understand that you're out of place there. Any soldiers from North America or Europe in Korean peninsula is out of place. It doesn't look Korean, it doesn't talk Korean, it doesn't walk Korean. You're the one out of place. If you're out of place, you must probably are not the one doing good. If somebody is in my bed between me and my wife, is not there to do something good. Is that clear? Or am I supposed to explain it? You're not doing anything good when you go stand between two brothers. You don't do any good if we go stand between a husband and wife. You don't do good if you stand between two Koreas or two Arabs, or send Ashkenazi folks from Europe to sit in the middle of an Arab house in the Arabian Peninsula. You got the Ashkenazi sitting in the corner of Arabian Peninsula's living room, and he's not moving. It's mine. It's the corner of your living room. This is an Arab living room. The Arabian Peninsula is an Arab living room, and Israel has sat in the corner of it and is saying, I'm not moving there from here. This is an Ashkenazi land, right in the middle of an Arab living room. To the Sane Society. Mrs. Greene, make your house so good that the orphan would willingly run to join your family. Make your house so good, treat your children so well, that any orphan, i.e. Greenland, Canada and Mexico, would want to join your family. For a while in my life, I was an orphan. Well, I felt like an orphan. I was a teenager and an orphan. You know, you really have a window of an outsider into a family, and you really recognize that which family you want to be part of, which family you don't. If it's dysfunctional, you really rather be alone than be part of a fucking dysfunctional family. And you can't tell me that with the education, housing, and healthcare issues that North Americans have, i.e. mostly people in Uncle Sam's land, that any orphan would want to join. Any other country would want to join the union. First thing first, take care of your own family so well, then others may willingly want to join, and you don't have to actually go put down soldiers to try to force them into your family empire. It's just not worth the blood and sweat and the tears that all these wars bring. Wars that you're trying to force these populations from around the world to submit to your will, because we found a way. Maybe it's your way, maybe it's good way, maybe it's good for you, it's a good way. Maybe it's not for other people. They have their own traditions, their own way of looking at things, their own. But still, the nervous system is bringing all of you closer together. And this ridiculous idea that you can cut the nervous system and still be functional is like cutting off your own head or cutting off your own leg and expecting to be functional. No, neither the leg is going to be functional nor the rest of the body. The right thing is to stop. Instead of providing arms, let's sit down and talk. And most of these insecurity issues will go away when you sit down and talk. Mrs. Greene, why don't you go in the next coming up Mexican holiday, go and become a guest of the Mexican president? I'm sure she will love to have you as a guest for a few days of their holiday, and just be with her. I'm sure she will love it. it will be an eye-opening experience for you, and it will be an eye-opening experience for the Mexican president. And both of you are women. I guess you should get along better. At least know, you know. My point is this: that you want to bring down the temperature. And by putting your name on everything, you're not bringing down the temperature, you're increasing the stress. And, you know, I know stress. I used to live in a house with where I had a older sister who was a real bully. And believe me, being a bully, pushing people around, you know, getting up from this side of the planet, from Palm Beach, going to Afghanistan, trying to bully the Afghans on top of some fucking mountaintop, it's just a very British thing to do. I'm not sure why Americans are doing it. Bullying, trying to bully people around the world, even Afghans on their mountaintops, is a very British thing to do. And British are extremely stupid. Why would you want to follow in the British footsteps? I wouldn't. I don't know. Why would you ever want to follow the British in their footsteps? The British don't have a good name. Let's just put it this way. Exactly because they went even to the mountaintops of Afghanistan and trying to subjugate and subdue those people on top of their mountains. How much of a bully can you be? British are retarded bullies. Look at Magic Johnson. Did I say Magic Johnson? Boris Johnson. Look at Boris Johnson. He's a retarded bully. One look at him, you can tell he's a retarded bully. And he's encouraging his fellow British to join the army and let's go conquer some land. And which the idea is actually just let's go shed some British blood. We don't need all you peasants. Your numbers have increased. We have to go cut down on your numbers. You're taking up land in our island. I guess what I'm trying to say is that, Mrs. Greene, whatever the British say, you can be sure is probably the right thing to do is 180 degrees the opposite direction of where the British want to go. If you're in if you're with the British subjects in the same room, you should be alarmed. When I say subjects, I don't, people with British descent, maybe they have, since they have moved out of England, they have changed, they have learned new things and new perspectives, so they cannot be so held accountable. But the British, those who are British right now have grown up in England, in the British island. If you find yourself with them in the same room, leave the room. They're always going the wrong way. Because their objective, wrong way in terms of humanity, because their objective is different. The British upper class objective is to eliminate the peasants all the time. That's their main objective. Their own peasants, they want to get rid of them. Because it's a small island and most of it is privately owned by very big landowners. They don't want so many peasants. This is not the same problems that you're having. The British are unique in their situation. Nobody should follow the British or the French for that matter, but French have a different problem. My point is this, that take care of your own citizens. Take such good care of your own citizens that others want to join you willingly. You don't have to drag them to join you, like Afghanistan, Iraq, Syria, Korea, Vietnam. Now apparently Panama is going to be dragged into the Union. Canada, Panama, everybody's dragged into bed. This is not love making, this is rape. If you have to drag them, if you have to threaten them, if Justin Trudeau has to go and resign and say, nope, I'm not giving up the family jewels, I'm going to resign. You're not taking care of your own citizens, and then you're not taking care of your children. This is what I'm trying to give you an impression of. You're not taking care of your own children, and you keep dragging these prostitutes to your house and raping them in front of your own family. These when I say prostitutes, these women, you're dragging these women across Mexico and Canada and Greenland. You're dragging these people to your bed, and you're trying to force them to join you in your bed. And the people in Uncle Sam's land are looking and saying that, imagine the Uncle Sam's children. There are 350 million of Uncle Sam's children. They're looking at this situation that these are the children of Uncle Sam living in the house with Uncle Sam, and Uncle Sam wants to drag, is flirting with Greenland, and is flirting with Canada, is flirting with Mexico. It also flirted with Iraq and Syria and Afghanistan. He's trying to bring all these women to his bed, while the children don't have food to eat, don't have shelter or health care. But they're seeing that Uncle Sam apparently wants to enjoy all these beautiful women from across the world while the family is going hungry. Forcefully dragging these women to his bed. This is how the world sees the situation. I don't know what you guys keep telling yourself. These stories that you keep telling yourself, proclaiming yourself as liberators, and we are here to liberate you in the name of capitalism. We are here to liberate you in the name of democracy. We are here to liberate you with Christianity, or we are here to liberate you. Everybody's got their own thing. But if you're in their house, you should leave. You should try to go and tend to your own family. All 350 million of them. Treat them so well, then everybody else will want to join willingly.